All right, ladies and gentlemen, one last thing, one last go. We're now going to construct the medians. So if you remember what the medians do, right, take a look back at the notes. If you recall, the medians intersect, well, let's see. A median goes from the vertex of a triangle to the midpoint of the opposite side. So I have to construct midpoints here. So in a way, this is going to be very similar to the construction of the perpendicular bisector thingy here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and construct our perpendicular bisector again. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. So you'll note that this construction is very similar to that of the perpendicular bisector construction that we're very familiar with. When we were constructing the circumcenter, we did the same. We did a very similar thing here. Actually, I should have made this arc go a little further. And then we can do the same thing over here. Okay. So note that we have ourselves our intersection point. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. So in this situation, kind of go ahead and do this, like so, and this here, and this here. Now note that these here, this is the circumcenter yet again, so this is O. However, we don't care about that. We actually care about, this is because these are not the medians here. We want to look at the midpoints of the sides. So for instance, the midpoint of A over here is going to be on this side. We're going to call this point here D. The midpoint for of AC, we're going to call that point here E. And the midpoint of AB, we're going to call that F. And now we just connect each vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So in this situation, we can go ahead and do that here. Aha! Notice that this green point here is the intersection of the medians. It's a little bit different from the intersection of the perpendicular bisectors, which was the pencil point that we had here. So this point here, we're going to call this point here G. And this point here, G, has a specific name. Yet again, just like in the mathematical literature, this point has a name here. We refer to this as what is known as the centroid. Sounds like some sort of alien or, robot here. So the centroid, we'll call it G of a triangle, is the intersection of the medians of the triangle. So in this situation here, G works out very, very nicely. You kind of have this sort of thing here. Notice how G and O are completely different, right? The pencil points here, the intersections of the perpendicular bisectors, this was O. This is the circumcenter here. And G, the centroid, is completely different from these. You can see these are two separate points here. So please make sure that when you're looking at this here, ladies and gentlemen, you want to keep these separate from one another. You want to make sure that you don't confuse the 2 points.